Well, hey folks, it's your old pal King Waspinator. Welcome back to Total Party Skills. I've been trying to come up with something to do for a little video content, and a little gift from YouTube came in the form of a comment on an older Riffs video I did, one where I compare, just the original Riffs with the Savage Worlds version of Riffs, and, my thoughts and all that. And someone had left a comment, maybe not quite as ranty sounding, but there's that underlayer of it, Riffs, because of that coalition war supplement is putting, fascist apologetics and blah, blah, blah. So, just real simply, get this out of the way. Is Riffs fascist? No. Shit. It's been that way since the very beginning, going all the way back to the original book and the fact that they had coalition player characters. The point has always been not that these guys are heroes, but they are bad guys. They are very openly patterned on various human fascist factions of the past, to and including Nazis. It wasn't shying away from that. What Riffs does is it, tries to flesh out why the villains think the way they think. And in terms of the fascist pro-humanitarian philosophies of the coalition and Riffs versus specific ethnic superiority groups in our own world, in a way, kind of maybe part of the problem is that it makes a little more sense. I mean, Earth in the Rift setting is literally being invaded by monstrous beings that do occasionally just want to eat us and don't care about us at all. And so the idea of humanity, becoming a bit of a bunker mentality about all that and becoming militant is not all that terribly surprising. The thing that threw me off about the comment was the Coalition Wars supplement part. Which one? The Coalition Wars was several books. It was a series of adventure modules. I understand that a lot of people who gamed through that time period with Riffs while the Coalition Wars was fresh were upset that Tolkien lost the war and that the Coalition won. It's a role-playing game, so you are allowed to diverge from the material at any point and any stage you want. If you're running Coalition Wars, you can have the Coalition lose. The thing is as far as Riffs as an ongoing role-playing game setting, having the Coalition lose neuters them. And so, in order to maintain the balance of power just for generic Riffs as a setting, by having the Coalition win, it basically is just resetting the status quo at the end. A common thing you see in all sorts of media entertainment, where, you feel like there's big changes are happening, character development and blah, 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 but by the beginning of next season, it's all back to where it was and that kind of a thing. It's not like they destroyed Laszlo, and I guess maybe some people, maybe part of the angle of saying it's apologetics is that, at least in that regards to those series of books, is that, Tolkien kind of went a little dark side there. I feel like politically there's a warning to be had in that in your effort to fight villainy, you have to be cautious not to become villainy. Otherwise, you then kind of lose your moral high ground kind of stuff. And I guess maybe that's a message that people don't want to hear. They want to think that just the very virtue of fighting against fascism in any form is good enough to justify whatever ends they have to, accomplish in order to be able to get to the means they want. Or is it the other way around? Now, if you want a book that's probably more accurately could be described as pro-coalition fascist apologetics, Heroes of Humanity, the Coalition States book that came out, it kind of supplement the information in Megaverse in Flames, where suddenly now the Coalition is reframed as the potential saviors for all of Earth. That's another conversation to be had. But the Coalition Wars itself, like I said, it's just an adventure series. It wasn't supposed to be a big climactic end or big pivot point that's going to change the entire face of Riffs. That's kind of what more Megaverse in Flames is. And also, even down the stuff that's in Megaverse and Flames, it's like the things that the coalition is going to have to do to fight the demon armies is going to ultimately soften their stance on a lot of how they treat magic users and DBs. It's the beginning of the end of the coalition's xenophobia, but it's just the beginning, and I guess that's not necessarily what people want. But it's like, that's just the North American part of it. I mean, like, there's fascism all over the Rift setting. I mean, the new German Republic in Europe is fairly fascist. Fascist as a word is so spread out like butter now that it's kind of indistinguishable just from saying it's civilization. I mean, the concept of fascism in politically, going back to that whole bundle of rods thing, that doesn't even go back to Mussolini. That's a very old concept. That goes back to before the Common Era. That's old Roman Republic type shit. The concept of the fascia, that if everyone's together in strong and unbreakable kind of a thing, that's so foundational to civilization. You have, like, how far back in time would we have to push things to edit that out of the human experience? Tons of civilizations, not just Western civilization, but Middle Eastern civilization also has been, like, heavily touched and influenced by Rome. And it's not like the Romans came up with this stuff out of a vacuum. They themselves were heavily informed by the Etruscans, who were heavily informed by Athenian and Hellenistic Greece, who were, informed by, Persian and Sabushid, and, like, there's like, what's the solution here? Like, we'd have to reduce ourselves back to Stone Age living to try to reset ourselves to somehow extract that philosophy out of governance. And I'm not even necessarily sure that would be a good thing. The idea that in unity one finds strength, that's the basis of all sorts of movements. And it, like, authoritarianism isn't exclusive to fascism. I mean, like I said, pretty much every government on Earth can be described as fascist to some degree or another. So it's kind of useless as a term. But yes, Rifts does have a lot of openly fascist themes, and its villains. It gives you material to understand why the villains think and operate the way they do, and that is justified to themselves. But if you notice that they still make a point of, in the alignment, like, all the leaders of the coalition are all still evil. They're not, like, acting like this is good in any sort of way. It's just at the end of a little adventure module series about a war in Minnesota, you're not going to leave the entire coalition. You're not going to have your centerpiece villain for your North American setting completely destroyed and or severely undercut, by having Tolkien win, and then the threat level of the coalition dims down. If anything, by having Tolkien lose, you've ratcheted up the threat level of the coalition from that point outward. You've made them even more fearful, fearsome villains. But if you want a dumb Saturday morning cartoon presentation of bad guys who don't really have any thought as to why they're doing what they're doing, they're just evil for the sake of being evil, that's fine. You can go play Dungeons and Dragons. Those of us who want a bit more of a nuanced gray zone in our role-playing games have plenty of other options. Or, also the horrible trick of role-playing games is you can do whatever the fuck you want with them. They can be as fascist or anti-fascist as you, the players and dungeon masters, want them to be. But I don't know. Fascist apologetics. I hear that thrown around a bit, and a lot of it does seem to tie to the Tolkien stuff, I guess. And then there's this other crowd of people who don't like Rifts because of how Robotech went down at the end, and something about Kickstarter or some shit like that. I don't know. Like, what's the more offensive part? Is it that the coalition won, or that Tolkien made an ass of themselves towards the end and became villains in and of themselves? The message that that war is complicated and that there's no good guys at all. You know, I guess isn't what some people are looking for out of their role-playing games. Like I said, they want Saturday morning cartoon type stuff where the good guys are brightly colored and very obviously good and giggly, and the bad guys are mustache twirling and evil, despite not having any like actual reasoning behind them being evil. And yeah, and just like also like in other circumstances, like anything can be described as fascist. So if there's any sort of an authoritarian impulse behind it, which is all governments, most of your religions, people on individual level who want to try to establish authority over somebody. Like I don't know what kind of dysfunctional world of super enlightened people that you are expecting the world to become. And also, like I said, like I don't know how far back you have to go in history to get before these concepts, because like I don't really feel like fascism is really derived from early 20th century Italy. It's derived from 6th century BC Italy, if not prior to that. I doubt that the Romans came up with the concept of like we will use a bundle of sticks as our symbol to show to all that with in unity comes strength. I mean, in unity comes strength, man. That applies to a lot of social movements. And also, it's not like these are the only things that are in Rifts. If Rifts was set up where you could only play coalition characters, then sure, maybe you can make a case that it's a pro-fascist game. But it has like the return of Soviets. It has all sorts of weird alien beings and magic. Like it's not intended for you to only play coalition characters. So perhaps if it's pro-fascist, that's more a reflection of you and your lack of imagination with what to do with that, than to just like you're just reading the book and just taking everything that you're reading as supposed to be like, well, this is gospel truth and I gotta just I don't get that. Bad guys have motivations. Bad guys do not think they're bad guys. They think that they're doing good. They have justifications for why they're doing. They've put themselves through the rationalizations and reasoning to get to the place where they are. And in that regards, the coalition from Rifts is one of the more better fleshed out villainous organizations that you can find in sci-fi apocalyptic role playing. They're not just like worshiping some nuclear missile and trying to give everyone mutation drugs or some stupid shit, because of some crackpot prophecy that they're misremembering off of an old menu for McDonald's. From their point of view, they're trying to, keep Earth alive. They're pro-fascist, but they're also pro-Earth, and they're pro-humanity. And maybe that's the problem some people have with it is they don't want to have to think in these gray zones, that life isn't quite so clear cut. And I'm sorry, but life isn't clear cut. So I don't know, like it's just weird. I mean, like if you don't like Rifts, why are you watching Rifts videos to then comment on Rifts videos? That seems like a level of just like taking it personally that's just a step beyond. There's things that I don't like in media, and I don't watch them, and I don't watch people talk about them, because if I don't like it, I just don't care to engage with it at all. So yeah, I don't know. It's your life. Do what you want with your time. I guess just as a lesson to take from this is if you want me to do a video commenting back on a comment you leave on my channel, be sure to say something just, quick and rude about Rifts. And I'll generally probably end up feeling stirred to say something about it like I did today. Yes, Rifts is fascist. No fucking shit. It's not been hiding that. It's been like that from the very fucking get-go. But it also is very clearly keeps putting across the point that, like, coalition bad, not coalition good. As I said, I think even in that video, like the thing that Savage Riffs kind of loses by kind of deframing coalition as being playable characters is that you know, like in old Riffs, like part of the point, if you do play a coalition character, the kind of stated purpose to do that is to play through that character realizing that all the brainwashing and crap that they were put through to get into the mindset that there are was wrong and is all lies. And so, you know, playing Riffs with coalition characters is role-playing through Nazi deprogramming, which, is that pro-fascist? I guess, yeah. Anyway, leave a comment below. Be sure to say something bad about Riffs, and I just get caught on an infinite feedback loop of making Riffs commentary videos about comments that are on my Riffs commentary videos. And then that way I'll always have content on Total Party Skills, where you'll want to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And the like button again, because it's all you're allowed to do. Check me out on Twitter @PartySkills. Go to Drive-Thru RPG and look up Total Party Skills and buy one of my books. Unlike other YouTubers, I'm not going to tell you to use questionable VPNs or try to get you to play Raid Shadow Legends or make you watch a mundane mainstream ad in front of my videos, because I don't care about monetizing. I'm not trying to be a television star. I'm just trying to write books and get people to write them, and by talking about the role-playing games I like, is hopefully to get people who have enough similar tastes to mine that they might appreciate the products that I'm putting out. So, I don't know, does that make me pro-fascist? Who the fuck knows anymore? Stay waspinated.